Hello and good morning, evening or afternoon, depending when you are listening to this, the latest episode in our Susty Talk video series. If you're not familiar, Susty Talk is an interview series designed to keep you guys connected to our network of sustainability leaders throughout lockdown and beyond. So whether you're working from home, tentatively moving back to the office or on furlough, this one is for you. And I'm really delighted that today we have Leonie from ING on the line. She's appeared on a number of our podcasts and interview segments before and is going to be appearing at our investor conference in September. So really a pleasure to catch up with you ahead of that, Leonie. How are you doing?
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much, and I'm very pleased to be here in this digital platform and to keep connected also with our community on the important topic of sustainability.
Mm-hmm. Great. And how have you and your team been working during this lockdown? I appreciate that where you are, the lockdown situation is probably a little different than for us here in the UK.
Well, we're based mainly in the Netherlands, but of course I also have teams in Singapore, in New York and in Brussels. So we've all experienced different ways in having lockdowns and working digitally. And one of the surprising things, and that also has amazed me quite a bit, was that immediately we could turn towards digital technologies and that we could just continue work as nothing happened, except for that you don't see each other in real life and that you just work from, well, in this case, my office here at home.
Mm-hmm. And I'm presuming that you are still at home today while we're chatting.
Yeah, we're definitely still working from home. Some countries have relaxed a bit more, but in Amsterdam, it's still the case that we all work from home. And actually, it works quite well. And one of the things that also has inspired me quite a bit is that if we can change so fast towards digitization and also don't fly anymore for every meeting to the clients that we normally meet, it is also something to think about and to reflect on. Can we take things like this with us in moving back into a relatively normal situation again? So I think for sustainability, teaming up with digitization is really something that has also learned us quite a bit of lessons during this crisis.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a comparison we've seen drawn quite a few times, so it's good to hear that it's gaining some momentum. And I sort of knew that you guys would be working pretty seamlessly even during lockdown, just through glancing through the ING newsroom websites. There have been multiple sustainability related headlines on there since March. So I can see that within the last week alone, you guys' new office in Amsterdam has achieved BREEAM Outstanding. And you have launched a collaborative initiative helping to decarbonise the inland shipping sector through boat electrification, through new infrastructure and finance. So for people that might have missed these stories, and that includes me because I had been on furlough, could you give a bit of a brief update on some of the key announcements from ING Sustainability in recent weeks?
Yeah, we launched our new head office, which is actually a whole sustainable campus last year already. And it received indeed the BREEAM Outstanding certification, which we're very happy with. And I think that also reflects our core commitment towards sustainability, not only in the business that we do, but also in how we deal with communities, in particular also in the current circumstances, but also really looking at how do we do our job? How do we run our own organization and integrate sustainability there? So I think that's a very good example also that we are really putting our money where our mouth is, and that sustainability is very serious for us. So next to that, I think we've also seen that markets are really getting up to speed again. I'm very happy to see maybe the first 2 weeks of the lockdown, we saw a lot of our clients looking at, okay, what is the short-term survival strategy? But immediately after that, we've seen first the bond market really stepping up, and now also the lending market really getting into place again. And that really also gives me the signal that sustainability is at the core, and in particular is also at the core of rebuilding a good economy. So for us, we've been really busy on supporting our clients in this transition and really also engaging with them to ensure that sustainability is still top of their priorities. And that's also confirmed in a lot of conversations that we have with them. One of the examples indeed you mentioned, ZES, is a very innovative transaction. As probably many of you know, that the inland shipping market has quite a bit of high emissions. And what we've done, we've teamed up with ENGIE, Wärtsilä, the Port of Rotterdam, and ING, of course, and build a new company to really support those inland shipping companies to use batteries. So they can use, through a system of pay-per-use, they can change their batteries, so-called ZES packs, and they can use that. Those batteries are fueled with renewable energy. So it's really something we're proud of. One of the first off-takers of this initiative is Heineken. And of course, very important also to see commitment of such a large corporate, not only in the consortium where we are working with to where we've built ZES, but really also to see that the off-taker is one of the larger corporates in the Netherlands. So we really hope that this technology and this model on supporting transportation by electrification and making it relatively easy to use it is something that we can expand also further.
That's great to hear. I definitely think the conversation is moving on from that sort of crisis management and survival to really how do we thrive after this in a different way. And we are mainly UK focused, so we've been tracking a lot of collaborative initiatives like the ones you've mentioned, and then also a lot of collaborative calls to policymakers about what really needs to happen next to support their visions. And we've seen that ING is part of a similar effort among the sort of Dutch business community. I know that ING on its own has been really vocal just as a standalone on this issue, but I'd be interesting to hear sort of what the coalition is up to, what particular policies are being asked for here, and whether that is in line with what the EU has unveiled so far. I have to admit, I feel like the EU has more information out than we do at present.
Yeah, no, and it's very important, I think, especially during these times that we see collaboration. It is important that we join forces with governments, with our clients, with all kind of other parties to really help rebuild a better economy and take some of the learnings also into account that we have experienced now during the crisis. So we, as ING, we have issued a statement on Build Back Better that was published on our website just before. We also partnered with the Dutch Business Coalition. About 200 of our clients have joined that coalition statement in saying we need to make sure that we team up, on the one hand, investing in economic restore, but at the same time accelerate on sustainability. And I think one of the signals that the European Commission has given also through the Green Deal, but also by moving forward with the EU taxonomy, is really supporting that statement. Yes, we need to really make use of this situation as well, although we need to be there for all the parties that are in difficulties. But how can we also strategically help them to move forward and accelerate on their sustainability ambitions? And as I mentioned for your previous question also, that we see clients really putting this as top priority. I think the realization that making yourself resilient is equal to accelerating the transition on sustainability. So I think it's therefore very important that we also as a bank stand behind our clients and really drive this sustainability agenda. We have been in the front for many years already, and I think this is also the time to really emphasize that further.
Mm-hmm. I think the use of your word resilience there is really interesting, because if I had £1 for every time that I heard the word resilience since March, I could probably get a green bond of my own going. And I just, from being at Edie for more than 2 years now, sort of pre-pandemic, there was always a sort of general feeling that the conversation was really focused on mitigation, and adaptation and resilience were sort of lower down the sort of priority schedule. So do you think that the pandemic has reframed the green finance conversation in that way, or in some other ways perhaps?
To some extent, maybe, and I think a larger group of companies and in general the whole public sees that resilience is a very important topic in this whole conversation. But I think that one of the things where ING has put its efforts on has always been on, we started with integrating sustainability into our commercial strategy based on the belief that we think sustainable businesses are better businesses. And therefore, if you invest and accelerate on sustainability, you are future-proofing yourself. So there's a lot of resilient thinking also behind that strategy. And I'm very glad also that we can team up with other parties and that this is also being recognized now. Still, I mean, mitigation is also an important topic. You can't just change overnight. So we have, for example, our Terra commitment, 600 billion of our lending portfolio that we intend to align with the Paris Agreement, where now also many banks have joined us in having a similar approach towards it so that we also create consistency in the market. But that approach is also really focused at how can we support our clients in making technological choices for a transition path that aligns with the Paris Agreement. So there's an active dialogue where we really help our clients getting insight in where do you stand today, where do you want to go tomorrow, and how should you do that? And that, I think, is the core of resilience and also really the core of where we should be going. You can't just be, if you're not green today, you can't be green tomorrow. And there may be some industries also that may have more difficulties to really be a full green company or a full social company. But by having this transition path and getting insights in how can you change, that is what is future-proofing your business.
Mm-hmm. Great. And the last thing I want to touch on is another buzzword that's really been floating around a lot in pandemic times, which is collaboration, which I've probably heard just as much as resilience, if not more. I just wanted to get your take on why it is important to have the financial sector not acting alone, but taking part in joint calls with other businesses and with policymakers at this time.
Yeah, I mean, we play our role, and I think that is a very important one. But if you look at the urgency of climate change and the urgency also now to put really expertise together in making sure that we can accelerate to build back better, it is very important to seek where can we collaborate, have strategic alliances in helping each other to really make this transition happen and accelerate on this transition. So I think with governments, and I mentioned already the European taxonomy is an angle that helps a lot in getting standardization in the market and driving insight into what is sustainability actually, how can I make it tangible, can I indeed measure what are my sustainable revenues, and we then, our turn is to help our clients to structure, for example, green bonds, sustainability loans, green loans to it, and really make sure that we make that also tangible towards investors who are asking for that more and more. So I think all those angles you need, if you do it just alone, you also need to have a market that is really wanting to have this. And from a regulatory perspective, to put the urgency out there and also making sure that it's fully integrated into the financial system. So we need each other, and in particular, if we want to accelerate. So very important there, I think.
Fantastic. Well, I think some of the things that we hear a lot is what you can't measure, you can't manage, and what you don't finance, you won't get. So I think that's probably a good note to end on there, and a lot to think about as we go forward. So yes, thank you very much for tuning in to this series. All of our previous episodes are now up on our website and our YouTube channel, but fear not, this will not be the last episode. There will be more to come in the coming days and weeks. So thank you, Leonie, for popping on the call today. And in the meantime, everyone, please do keep up the Susty talk.
Thank you, Sarah.